The Olympic gold medal was once football's most coveted prize. It's not quite the same these days. FIFA mandates that it be an under-23s competition, so that it doesn't threaten the World Cup's popularity. But you'll still see some elite football in some of Asia's best stadiums. While the Olympic Games are being held in Tokyo, 2 of the football stadiums are nowhere near Tokyo. The others are all within an hour's drive. Not that that's relevant, obviously there's no spectators allowed. So with that being said, here are the Tokyo 2020 Olympics football stadiums. International Stadium Yokohama. A huge stadium in more ways than one. Yeah, the capacity's quite big, but the floor space is far greater than what is required for football. Even for athletics, there's still plenty of extra space. So it's not ideal for the spectators in that respect, but once again, it's not an issue at this Olympic Games unfortunately. It's a fairly good looking stadium. Yeah, on the outside it looks okay, but especially on the inside where the seats have been recently replaced. This was done prior to the 2019 Rugby World Cup, where it hosted the final. It has also hosted a Football World Cup final. So as you might have guessed, it will be hosting the Olympic final as well. The men's one at least. Tokyo Stadium. It's similar to the last one in many ways, except the seating is slightly more rounded to allow the seats to be closer to the action. And it's also noticeably less colourful. Pretty much the entire stadium is grey or silver. I reckon if I turn off the colour, it will look exactly the same. See? Except for the grass. They've chosen to grow green grass, which was a good choice. It is monochromatic, but it's still easy on the eye. I especially like that cantilever roof. Once again, it's made up of 2 tiers of uninterrupted seating. That's more or less symmetrical. Yeah, it's a perfectly fine stadium. It's just not as interesting as some of the upcoming ones. Saitama Stadium 2002. If you're wondering why they've put 2002 in the name, it was built for the 2002 World Cup. But so were a few others in this video. They didn't feel compelled to put it in the name. Straight away you'll notice those strikingly beautiful roof canopies. They are very Japanese. The architects may have been inspired by origami, or maybe it's that the team that plays here are called the Red Diamonds, and if you put the 2 roofs together, you get a diamond. A white diamond though. I always like when a stadium leaves each end behind the goals uncovered. Seattle's Lumen Field for instance. It just works. It looks fantastic. Miyagi Stadium. Yes, it was in fact designed by Mr. Miyagi, the fictional karate master. He did a fantastic job on the roof canopies. They're kinda like an exaggerated, asymmetrical version of Saitama Stadium. I'm not sure which one I prefer. I think this one. It's quite beautiful. But as a football-specific stadium, the last one definitely takes the cake. The facade of the stadium on the largest side is made up of bare concrete, but on the other side it makes use of the earth, which I always like to see. It's yet another stadium with a track around the field. It's quite common in Japan. In fact, there are just 2 football-specific stadiums being used for this Olympics. But even so, I still really like this stadium. There aren't too many stadiums that I don't like, to be fair. It would have to be pretty shoddy. Kashima Soccer Stadium. The second of the football-specific stadiums. It's different from any of the other stadiums on this list in that it was once a very modest football ground that was quite rudimentary. But then the capacity was more than doubled when it was renovated for the 2002 World Cup, and you can sort of see how they've gone about it on the inside, where the lower tiers are made up of individual stands, a remnant of the original design. But then on the top tier it's a continuous seating bowl. Quite interesting. It's also the oldest football stadium that will be used in the Olympics, but it's still in its 20s. Sapporo Dome. Way up north on the island of Hokkaido is this rather spectacular dome stadium. It may have been the most futuristic stadium in the world when it was built, with its sleek, shiny silver exterior, and the natural grass football field that can roll in and out of the stadium to allow for baseball to be played on an artificial field. As far as I'm aware, no other stadium in the world is quite like that. The interior is kinda weird, but also kinda cool. You can certainly tell that the design has baseball in mind. It's an asymmetrical bowl with movable seating lower down. The charcoal seats do look quite nice, and I like the large windows behind the eastern seats. Japan National Stadium. Tokyo's brand new, 2-year-old flagship stadium will be hosting the women's final. It obviously can't host too many games because, the track and field will be taking place there. The design of an Olympic stadium always has some sort of story attached. Every little aspect seems to be inspired by something. Perhaps the most interesting example on this stadium is the fact that it uses wood from all of Japan's 47 prefectures. A prefecture is kinda like a state or a province, or an oblast for any Russians watching. It's a nice touch, but it does however also use wood that was cut from the rainforests of Borneo, which isn't ideal. They have been inspired further by the 47 prefectures in that the stadium is roughly 47 meters tall. There have also been 47,000 trees planted around the stadium, and there'll be no more than 47 people in the stadium to witness the world's greatest athletes. That one's kinda sad. I said those trees were planted around the stadium, but the facade itself includes thousands of plants. On the inside, it's nothing that far removed from a typical stadium, made up of 3 tiers of seating that continuously wrap their way around. But what does set it apart is the aforementioned wood that's up there on the roof. And those were the Tokyo Olympics football stadiums. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, have a good one.